Should I watch Dr. Stone or just read the manga? Or should I do both? As someone who talks about Dr. Stone from time to time, I tend to get these questions directed at me. And while I'm usually just going to tell you to do both, it's worth mentioning how to go about doing that. Obviously, if you're like me and you've read and watched Dr. Stone more times than you'd like to admit, then this video isn't really for you. But if you're a new fan who wants to get the most out of their Dr. Stone experience, then stick with me and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Before I get started, make sure to comment with your thoughts on the anime and manga. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week in the next video. This week's comment goes to Easy Overdrive for sharing their thoughts on Eden Zero. If you'd like more Dr. Stone and other manga discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. So like I said, 10 times out of 10, I'm just going to tell you to do both. Dr. Stone is a great manga, and unlike a few manga that I won't name, our anime adaptation doesn't stink like doggy doo-doo or literally spit in your face. In case you don't know, and I have to say this because some of you forget he even exists, the manga is written by Riichiro Inagaki, the same guy who wrote Eyeshield 21. You know, the one about football. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean American football. It's really just football, but I'll chill. Anyway, Inagaki is a fantastic writer who knocks it out of the park in terms of storytelling. So if you want the Dr. Stone story in its original conception, then the manga is the way to go. Same with the art, which of course is drawn by Boichi, the guy that everyone thinks writes Dr. Stone. Boichi has written some of his own great manga like Sunken Rock and Origin, but obviously his big claim to fame is his art style. Now, while you should read the manga to get Boichi's god-tier art in its original form, the visuals in the anime are just as beautiful in their own right. I mean, if you take nothing else from Dr. Stone, do yourself a favor and just look at the background shots in the anime because they're gorgeous. Oh, and how could I forget the top-tier openings and endings? Seriously, just go watch the first OP and ED and you'll be sold on the anime. That's not to say everything about the visuals is perfect, as there are some small animation issues in Season 1. Luckily, they pretty much fixed this in Season 2, but it's still worth mentioning. Anyway, I've been going on about how great either version is, but maybe you're still not sold on Dr. Stone yet. So, what's the best way to test the waters? Honestly, if you only go with one, then just go with the anime. If you prefer manga over anime, then by all means, just read the manga. And if you're just trying to catch up because you see people talking about how awesome the new chapters are, then again, just read the freaking manga. But if you're not sure if you like Dr. Stone and you really like to, then the anime does the best job of selling the series. Admittedly, the first chapter can be a bit confusing as it's easy to mistake Taiju as the lead character just based on the first chapter. But if you watch the first episode of the anime, which adapts the first 2 chapters, then it's easier to tell by the end of it that Senku is our main man. And even if you're not confused, the production quality of the anime just does a phenomenal job of bringing the source material to life. I already talked about the gorgeous visuals and OPs, but I have to talk about the music. Dr. Stone is a story that blends the old world with modern science, and the soundtrack reflects this by creating this beautiful mix of different genres of music and all kinds of different instruments. Also, there's this time lapse that just makes you want to get up and shake it. Just thought that'd be worth mentioning. Anyway, on top of all that, it's just a lot easier to invest in the characters through the anime thanks to the top-tier voice acting. Senku has the same voice as Subaru from Re:Zero, Taiju has the same voice as Shirogane from Kaguya-sama and Saitama from One Punch Man, and the villain, Tsukasa, has the same voice as Bucciarati from JoJo's and Hawks from MHA. Clearly, there's a ton of talent, and that's only a fraction of the characters. Dr. Stone is full of lots of comedic scenes, but watching those scenes in the anime with the perfect timing and reactions of the voice actors, or seiyuu, just makes them that much better. And there's also tons of emotional scenes too, but there's just something about actually having the character cry, and have that certain vulnerability in their voice that makes you connect with them in a way that you can't really do just by reading the manga. So yeah, either version of Dr. Stone will be a great experience, but if you really want to be sold on it, then my advice is go with the anime. But unfortunately, that isn't quite the end of it. Because once you become addicted to the awesome drug that is Dr. Stone, whether that be in manga or anime form, then you're gonna ask what everybody else does. what's the best way to follow the series? And here you have a few options. Like I said, if your priority is just catching up to the new chapters, then just binge the manga. But a word of caution. Should you choose to read Dr. Stone Reboot Byakuya, which you should because it's freaking awesome, then just make sure you wait until after the Treasure Island arc. After that, knock yourself out. But let's say you can't do the manga. You watched the anime and agree that it is a gift from the gods, but couldn't be paid enough to sit down and read, never mind read manga. Is it okay to be anime only? Of course it is. Reading just isn't for some people, just like some people could care less how a studio adapts their favorite manga. We're all wired differently in this beautiful mess of a world we call planet Earth, so don't stress it. Just know you're gonna be spending a decent chunk of time waiting in between seasons. But now we come to the final option, the best option, the option for degenerates such as myself who want all of Dr. Stone. You read one chapter, you seen one episode, you like that's it, I'm hooked, I'm all in. What's the best order to watch the anime and read all the manga? Well, as someone who's binged the anime more than once and has read the manga God knows how many times, and is one of the rare elites that actually read the reboot, here's my advice. Start by reading the source material for the anime, which is the first 83 chapters of the manga. Then, before you move on, go back and binge the anime. See, you could do the opposite, watch the anime and then start the manga from square one, which, in all fairness, is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. And if you do that, you'll still love Dr. Stone just like anyone else. But the Dr. Stone anime loves to make little changes and add filler moments, not whole-ass filler episodes that make you appreciate skip buttons. These are just little moments that the studio throws in to improve the awesome source material and make it even better. In fact, these moments are so subtle and sometimes they're so quick that anime-only fans would have no idea they're even filler. Which is exactly my point. Let's say you just watch the anime first. Well, then you're still gonna get a better version of the story than someone who only reads the manga, but you won't have a proper appreciation for those moments. You won't know how the story improved as a result of those changes. But on the flip side, if you watch the anime and then go read the manga, you're gonna have a hard time keeping track of what's filler and what isn't. These filler moments are brief, so it's hard to remember that they're even there while you read the manga unless you're really looking for them. So that's why I recommend reading the manga first. Then go and watch the anime, and as you watch the anime, just keep the manga with you. Read a few chapters over again, take a big pretentious sip of wine as you mull things over, then watch an episode of the anime and see how it compares. Then you'll really appreciate everything about the anime, from the voice acting to the music, and of course the filler. Then from that point you just have one more choice. Do I read the reboot later, or should I read it after Treasure Island? This one's really up to you. Personally, just read it right after when everything is still fresh in your mind, but no harm done if you decide to read the reboot later. From that point on, you're good to binge away and find out why people are so hype about the new chapters. Also, it's worth mentioning that on top of the manga, anime, and reboot, there's also some light novels. I can't speak to them since there's no official translations yet, but it's still worth mentioning if that's something you want to check out. So, just to recap, you can basically either binge the whole manga, take things easy and stay anime only, or take my advice and use my suggested order. If you're a new fan and this video helped you, then please drop a comment and let me know, because I really hope this gets people interested who couldn't quite decide how to get started. Luckily, if all goes well, you'll realize that Dr. Stone is easily one of the best anime and manga there is. And that's it for this discussion. If you enjoyed this discussion, then make sure to like the video. Don't forget to comment with your thoughts down below. And if you'd like more Dr. Stone and other manga discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.